Okay, so Be'ezras Hashem, we're continuing with our weekly series of shirim on Adir BaMarom from the Heilige Rav Moshe Chaim Lutzato Schusio Gonolenu, the light of the Ramchal, whose neshama continues to push our generation along through the potency of his Torah and the revelation of the Yichudim and the fundamental unity that shines forth from every word of his Torah. We're going weiter into Adir BaMarom. Today we're going to finish off Perek, and we're going to prepare ourselves to enter into Shviras HaKelim, into the Sugya of Shvira. Up until now, what the Ramchal has been speaking to us about over the last few weeks is the preparatory stages that take shape within the initial movements of existence and creation. That the emergence of the Halal, that vacant space, which corresponds to the general shape of Malchus, or the Kelim that represent the very beginningness of creation, interact with the kav of Or Ein Sof that descends back down after the formation of the halal, which is going to correspond to the vav. So we have at the outset of creation the vav and the hey. But as the Ramchal has shown us, every vav and a hey needs a yud and a hey. But the problem is that the yud and the hey, the true transcendental moichin of arich anpin and abba ve'ima, those upper partsufim, don't enter into the conversation of our limited grasp, which operate in accordance to the vav and the hey. In order to be mashlim, in order to fulfill the vav and the hey, we can say that from those transcendental molchin, we schlep down and we draw down certain imprints of those molchin to the degree that they can be drawn down into zer anpin, which is the vav, and that's going to be considered the chachma, the bina, and the das of zer anpin, which in relationship to the lower vav hey, which is zav and nuk, is going to be considered as if it's molchin, while in truth, in relationship to the true form of molchin, those mochin remain primarily transcendental, and that's only going to be revealed in the future in the secret of the true Yud K, which is going to be the transformation of the Shem Havaya into the secret of the Yud K, which is Yihya Hashem Echad Ushmo Echad, where that transcendental or of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light is going to be revealed for all to see. But until then, the main space of functionality, the main space of where we engage in reality and are aware of our process in reality, and where the work of choosing and rectification takes shape, that's going to be in the Vavhe. That's going to be in that space of Zer Anpin and Malchus, the seven midos of human experience, and Malchus, which is that space of receptivity. And we see that the proof of the matter that these two modes, the Vav and the Hey, Zer Anpin and Malchus, are going to be the fundamental space of our worship and our processing. Even though we're talking about the process way before any of these things have emerged yet, we're still at the point of the Hamshacha of the Kav. The proof of the matter is that all that is there at the outset of existence is a Vav Hey, the Halal and the Kav. And if all that exists at the outset of creation is the Vav Hey, well, that shows us where the Iker place of our Avoda is going to be, specifically within the Vav Hey. So what the Ramchal is showing how at the very recesses, at the ascendant point of the emergence of creation, we're also just dealing with a Vav Hey. And that points to the fact that ultimately the fullest manifestation of the territory of Avodas Hashem and what we should do in this Dir B'Tachtonim is going to be in the Vav Hey. But we see them at their original inception points prior to the concealment and the constriction that the actual Vav Hey is going to take on. But from dint of the fact that that becomes the first instantiation, we can understand that that becomes the Tachlis later on. And that's the Vav and the Hey, that's going to be the process and the culmination and the Zachar and the Nekeva and the Shem Havaya of Ma and the Shem Havaya of Ben. Because when the Ramchal is talking about the re-entrance of the Kav into the Halal, we know already that he's always talking about the Kav that's mislabesh within Adam Kadmon. That Adam Kadmon ultimately becomes the grand shape in which the Seder of Hishtalshelus is going to be unfolding. And in truth, especially in the Idraba, where Adam Kadmon is not discussed so much, but rather the partsufim of Atik and Arich that come out and after Adam Kadmon, nevertheless, Adam Kadmon is the intermediary space, so to say, between the infinite realms of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the finite expression of the worlds that come after Adam Kadmon, which are the worlds of Atzilus, Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya. That Adam Kadmon is the Kutza Shel Yud that gives shape to the unfolding Shem Havaya, which is the worlds of Atzilus, Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya, as a result of the externalization of Adam Kadmon. But the interiority of Adam Kadmon serves as the transference, serves as that first instantiation of limit through which the infinite light is going to come down. And we said that ultimately Adam Kadmon represents one full shape of a Shem Havaya, and that Shem Havaya can be quartered off into four different iterations of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name. The first and the highest point corresponding to the Yud of that Shem Havaya of Adam Kadmon is going to be the Shem Havaya of Ab, which is spelled out with the name using Yuds, which is the Gematria of 72, corresponding to Chachma and Chesed. Then below that is going to be the Shem Havaya of Sag, which is also going to be spelled out with Yuds. The only difference is that in the Vav, instead of a Yud, there's going to be an Aleph, which brings us to the Gematria of 63. And then the lower two quadrants of the Shem Havaya, corresponding to the Vav and the Hey, are going to be the Shem Havaya of Alfin, which is the Gematria of Ma, which is Zer Anpin, and the Shem Havaya that doubles over itself as the representation of Malchus, which is the Shem Havaya of Ben. So we have the four formations of Hashem's name, Ayin Beis, Samach Gimel, Mem Hey, and Nun Beis, which is 72, 63, 45, and 52. Now, the upper realms of the Shem Havaya, as they represent themselves in the unfolding process of Adam Kadmon, at first, there was no actual space of the lower quadrants. All that existed was the Ab and the Sag. Once we're dealing with the emergence of Adam Kadmon and that space in which process and rectification is going to take shape, so we're always dealing with the emergent process from within Adam Kadmon, the lights that come from within Adam Kadmon. And at first, all there was the Shem Havaya of Ab, which is the Chachma. And in truth, that's all that exists. And then there's the Shem Havaya of Sag, which is Bina, which serves as a levush to the Chachma. But prior to Shviras HaKelim, which is the unfolding process of those lower levels of the Vav and the Hey actually emerging so that there can be a place of Avoda and Bechira, so all that existed was the Ab and the Sag. There was no secret of a Ma and a Ben yet. There was no Zman. Ma and Ben, the lower quadrants that take shape at the bottom part of Adam Kadmon, had not yet been revealed because those are only the post-traumatic symptoms of the Shira and the Yitzias Ha'oros that come out, and there's no vessels to hold them. And as a result of that cataclysmic shattering, which was a deliberate breaking for the sake of building a constitutive trauma, we didn't have Zman. We didn't have a Ma and a Ben. We didn't have the territory of Avodah. So at this stage, all we're dealing with at the inner interiority of Adam Kadmon and the externalization of the higher parts of Adam Kadmon is the Ab and the Sag, the Chachma and the Bina within it, the Yud and the K, so to say, within it. But we're not yet at the place where we have prepared the basic space in which Avodah is going to take place. And the whole purpose of the Adir Rabbah is coming to teach us how from the upper recesses of infinitude, there can be the emergence of limitation for the sake of Avodah Hashem, which is primarily going to take place in the Ma and the Ben, in the Zun, in the Dachar v'Nukva, in the 6 days of the week and Shabbos, in the lower territories, the Dir b'Tachtonim, where human effort is going to take shape. But all of the constrictions and the tzimtzumim and the tikkunim and the constriction for the sake of revelation, all of that had not yet been in place yet. So there was no emergence of the lower worlds in which the true purpose of existence can take shape. So that's what the Ramchal is describing to us now. The intermediary space, after having set up for us the halal and the kav that is mislabish back in Adam Kadmon and expresses itself in the beginning stages through the first instantiation and the truest form of Adam Kadmon, which is the Shem Havaya of Ab, which is the expression of the infinite light of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Chesed Pashut, that's Maskala everywhere. And then the congealment of that and the outer layer of Bina that serves as a Lavush to Chachma to reveal it even more, that Ab and the Sag, that's not yet revealed in a constructive way for human beings. Human beings only function, Nishmas Yisrael only functions within the Ma and the Ben, within the territory of Bechira, within the Adam, which is the Gematria of Ma, and the Behema, which is the Gematria of Ben, which is the secret of the Nefesh of the Kus and the Nefesh of Bahamis, the territory of Bechira. So that's not yet revealed, and that's what is going to bring us to the next chapter, which is the Shvira, because the Shvira is ultimately the secret of the Idrab. It's the secret at the heart of the Arizal. It's the secret at the heart of all things, how from within this degradation and constriction and cataclysm and traumatic breaking is in truth the slow and steady process through which HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself so that we can engage in Bechira. So Zak Tehil Gezayir HaKadosh Ad Lo Zamin Tikune de Malka Ve'iture Iturin Sherusa V'Siyum Elohave. Even though we're talking about the potentiation of that which is going to unfold, nevertheless, until HaKadosh Baruch Hu had arranged for the rectifications of the Malka, which represents Zer Anpin, the Shem Havaya of Ma, V'iture Iturin, as well as the Moichin of Zer Anpin, which is going to be the Chachma, Bina, and Das that we schlep down from the true Moichin, which become the Yud K to that Vav K. Shiruse V'Siyum Elohave. Until Zer Anpin was properly arranged, there was no beginning and there was no actual end. The beginning and the end here is where our Avodah starts. And for our purpose, that means Zer Anpin and Malchus. But until the Shvira and the Tikkunim and the rectification of these Partsufim, there was no beginning and no end. Meaning to say that Zer Anpin and Malchus, the Vav and the Hey, which are the purpose of all creation, had not yet taken shape. And so now we're going to see what Rabbeinu Haramchal says. V'nachzor le'inyanenu. Ki ad shahaya ha'atzmus tahinu hakav shebesoicha adam kadmoin mispashet besoid av sag levad. That at this point, when we're still talking about the atzmus, so to say, which is the extension of the light of the kav back into the halal, which is the entrance of the kav into the world of Adam Kadmon, as it's descending downwards, we're still only operating in the secret of Ab and Sag Levad, the two upper quadrants of Adam Kadmon, which are the Chachma and the Bina Shabo, so to say, the Yud and the Kei Shabo. The Shem Havaya of Ab, which is corresponding to the Yud, and the Shem Havaya of Sag, which is corresponding to the Hey. Hine Adayin Loi Nikva Metzias Shirusa V'Siyuma, which is the secret of the Zachar and the Nekeva. Meaning, at this stage, we have still not yet entered into that next stage of the unfolding process of Metzias, which takes shape through the Shvira itself. So we're still holding in that refined space and that transcendental quality of the Panemius of Adam Kadmon, which is the Ab and the Sag, the Chachma and the Bina. Ad lo zamen tikunei de malka ve'iturei iturin shirusa v'siyuma lo have v'ha'inyan. What does this mean? Ki hamalka, these tikunim of the malka, of the melech that are not present yet, that's referring to Zer Anpin. That's going to be the main point, the vav, which is the Shem Havaya of Ma that has not yet emerged. So there's the melech and the tikunim of the melech. The melech is the emergence of the parts of Zer Anpin, which is the Iker Shem Havaya of Ma, which is the territory of our Bechira, that light of Kudsha Berichu, that's reflected within our actions, that we're mamshich moichin down to that place. And the tikunim are going to be the Vav Ktsavos, Chesed, Gvur, Tveres, Netzach, Hod, and Yesoid, and Malchus that compose the parts of Zer Anpin. So we're waiting for the emergence of Zer Anpin and Malchus, which is going to be the Vav and the Hey. And so that's the Shirusa V'Siyuma that hasn't taken shape yet. And what are those ataros? The ataros, the crowns of Zer Anpin and Malchus, which is the territory of our avodah, is the Keser Chachma Bina and Das, which we schlepp down from the True Moichin. Again, that Yud Hey, which is not the real Yud Hey, but only Yud Hey in relationship to the Zayin Tachtoinim of Zer Anpin and Malchus, because we can't really talk about the true Gimel Ration, which are Ab, Arich Anpin, Va'ab V'ima Iloyin. Those are the true Yud Ks, which still remain outside the purview of our graspability. But because we need to have a Yud K of our own, so we schlepp down the Moichin through the lower territory of Bina into Zer Anpin, which becomes the Keser Chachma Bina and Das. And so then we have the Iturei Ha'ataros, the crowns of the crowns, which are the true form of the Moichin, which is where we draw our Moichin down from, which is Arach Anpin and Ab Ve'ima. So we see that we have a few dargin here. The Zohar HaKadosh uses a Lashon, and the Ramchal is showing us how every single word of the Zohar HaKadosh was written Baruch HaKodesh, Karuv L'Nevuah, to the degree that each and every word and each and every kutz of the letters holds the sod of all sodos. So we see that there's a number of things being discussed here. There's the Tikkunim of the Malka, which is Zer Anpin. And the Tikkunim of the Malka is going to be the Vak and the Malchus. But what's also missing are the Ataros, which are the Ataros, which are the Keser Chachma Bina and Das, the Moichin that are applicable to Zer Anpin, as well as the Atirei Ataros, which are the Arich Anpin and the Abba V'ima. So everything was missing at this point. V'zeh ki kvar shamata eich Arich Anpin v'Abba V'ima nekroim b'shem mitzad his mashcham b'soid ha-moichin v'ha-keser. Even though we don't really have a relationship with Arach Anpin and Abba V'ima in a graspable way, nevertheless, we already told you that the reason that we speak about these levels of the true Keser and the true Chachma and the true Bina, in spite of the fact that all we have access is to the lower expressions of those mochin down through the processes of Zer Anpin, nevertheless, as the result of the fact that we draw down from that place, we can still refer to them as things that we have accessibility to, even though we don't really have accessibility to them. By dint of the fact that we can draw down a quintessential drop through the process of constriction and revelation and all of the tzimtzumim, so we can still claim to have some shaykhs to them to the degree that we can name them. V'nimsa shezeh seder hiskashram. So it turns out, says Ramchal, that in these few words of the Zohar HaKadosh, we're describing the whole seder of the hishtalshalos and the purpose that we're working towards, which is not yet available to us. That the Keser, Chachma, and Bina, and Das are the ataros of their anpin. That's the moichin that we draw down because we need to have some relationship to moichin. The arich anpin and the abba ve'ima iloyin, which are the true partsufim, which we don't necessarily have access to, other than the drip drop of moichin that we draw down from them. Those are not the ataros, but those are the ataros of the ataros. Those are the crowns of the crowns. So there's their anpin, which wears crowns, which is its keser chachma and bina and das. But then there's the crowns of the crowns, which are the true source of keser chachma, bina and das, which don't enter into conversation. Ba'az hashirus v'hasiyuma shu b'makomo b'sod ma v'ben mispashet inyano gam be'elyonim. And at that point, when we have a shleimus, when we have all of those moichin being drawn down into kalim, so then we have a beginning and an end, which we're going to describe in our proper place as the ma and the ben. The shem havaya of ma and the shem havaya of ben. Ma as an extension of ab, and ben as an extension of sag. But those two lower partsufim have not yet unfolded. Only then will they express themselves below as a result of this kesher that we're talking about. Aval ad shahad devarim ha'ela lo netaknu kach. But until the point that these things are rectified, and at the stage of the Ijarabah that the Ramchal is speaking to us now, it has not yet been rectified. Lo haya inyan hashirusa v'hasiyuma. We were still not at a point where reality or existence had condensed itself or constricted itself to the degree where there could be the territory of human volitional choice between the ma and the ben, the battle between the adam and the behema, the Yetzer hara and the Yetzer tov, the work of Bechira. V'hine havanas ata. Hevanta ata. Now we have to understand something right now. Heich hamalchim kadmin heim shoyresh atzmi lo'olamus hatachtoinus. Meaning to say, what's about to happen now as the result of the shvira that's going to take place is the unfolding of the lights of Adam Kadmon Bachutz, and that's eventually going to become the formation of the lower worlds. This is a fundamental principle, that the shvira is not something that came to break pre-existing worlds. The shvira is the thing itself that builds those very worlds itself, something that the Leshem Shabo V'Chaloma comes to fundamentally reveal in Shefer Hadeya, that it's not a trauma that breaks, it's a trauma that builds. The very worlds that we deal with are the post-traumatic result of this original cataclysm that gives shape to the worlds. It's not that there was something built and then it broke, but rather the very thing that's built is an emergent process from within the original breaking of something that wasn't broken, but rather the formation of formation itself. That the Malchim Kadmin, that's what we're waiting for now. We're waiting for the Shvira. We're waiting for the Zohar HaKadosh to talk to us about the Malchim Kadmin, the descent from Bina into the worlds of separation, which is going to be the emergence of the lower worlds of Ma and Ben in the territory of Avodah. Ki behiyos kol han hagasam besoid hashirusa v'hasiyuma, because these Malchim Kadmin, Ma and Ben, they're all rooted in the secret of the Vak and the Malchus, which is the beginning and the end, the 6 days of the week and Shabbos. Zeh ha'inyan loy hukva makomo. This is not yet prepared. Elapoi b'Malchim Kadmin. The only time that it's going to begin to emerge is going to be in the secret of the Edomite kings, that Shvira Sakelim, which reveals for the first time the externalization of the partsufim of Ma and Ben, which were missing. Tana, Atika da Atikin, Tamira da Tamirin, Ad Loi Zamin. So the Zohar HaKadosh now is going to go even deeper into a language that the only way that Atika da Atikin and Tamira da Tamirin are actually going to be revealed is going to be by way of the unfolding process of the lower levels. The lower levels, the Ma and the Ben, the Das Tachton, has to emerge first and foremost so that the higher levels can be malbish themselves upon them. Without the lower levels, without the Merkava, without the lower quadrants of expression, which are the Ma and Ben, there's no place for the Ab and the Sag to unfold. They remain a Migdal HaParech Ba'avir without any Hislabshus. It's only through the unfolding of the process of Zer Anpin and Malchus, which on one hand appear to be the lowest, but on the other hand appear to be the key to which the entire system is rooted in. So we see that prior to the unfolding of the lower levels, the higher levels are also missing. The Atika, the Atikin, which is the light of Chachma, the Tamirin, which is going to be the light of Bina, they're not present in any real way until Ma and Ben emerge. So what does Atika da Atikin mean here? Atika da Atikin is Ab over here. Atika da Atikin is the elder of the elders, which is the secret of Chachma. That's Kihu Medaber ala Kav Shebasaycha Adam Kadmon. Now we're talking about the Hamshacha of the Kav into the world of Adam Kadmon. Even though the Ijarab is not talking so much about Adam Kadmon, the Ramchal in these very few words is pointing out the fundamental transference process through which the inner entirety of Adam Kadmon goes through the process of the externalization through the lights that are Yotze from the Oznayim and the Einayim of Adam Kadmon, and the Chaitim in the Peh, and that's going to be the intermediary process that allows for the unfolding of all of the worlds. So over here, the Ramchal is being masbir that the Zohar Kadosh is talking about the kav that's nichnas into Adam Kadmon itself. And so the Atika da Atikin avalafi b'chinaso b'sod ab, the first instantiation and shape and name that the kav takes shape in is the or of the Einayim, which is the secret of ab. That's the secret of Arich Anpin. That's referred to as the Zakein in this orientation. That's the Atika da Atikin. V'hasod shu hayoter sharashi v'hakaro v'lein sof. The reason that the Shem Ab is going to correspond to the language of Atikab da Atikin, because in terms of the relationship of the Kav entering back into the Halal, this is the first point in which we begin to have a grasp. And because it's the first point in which we begin to have a grasp, so then it's going to be the point closest and most proximate to the infinite light that transcends grasp. And therefore, the point that's highest and closest to the ungraspable source is going to have the relationship of Arich Anpin. And that's the Yoter Sharashi Akar V'Lein Sof. Bagam Av V'Ima Nikram Sakenim, but also Ab V'Ima Ilayan, not only Atik, not only those true elements of the Yud, but also the higher elements of the Hey are also going to be referred to as Zakenim, Ki Kulam Lamala Min HaHanhaga Hu Azat, that in relationship to the unfolding Hanhaga of the Ben and the Bas, which is Ma and Ben, which is their Anpen and Malchus, the Shem Ab and Sag seem to be removed. That Ab is doubly removed, and Sag is only one level removed. And therefore, Ab is going to be referred to as the Atika da Atikin, and Sag is going to be referred to as the Tamira da Tamirin. Both of them are not yet revealed within Zayin Tachtonos, because the Zayin Tachtonos are not revealed yet. Avaliyos Zaken Mikulam, Kikenu Sharish Lahem, Nikra Atika da Atikin. Because Arich and Ab is the source of all things, even though Bina is also considered old, the old of the old is the secret of Chachma, which in this Erech is going to be seen as Arich Ach Mepnei Hislabsha B'Sod Hasag Gam Nikra Tmira da Tmirin. Once the Chachma, the Ab, is mislabish itself within the Sag, then it takes on another name that represents concealment, but a lesser form of concealment. Ki Asag Hu Abba V'Ima V'Hem Tmirin. In this Erech of Arich and Abba V'Ima, Keser Chachma and Bina, so Ab is going to be Arich and Sag is going to be Abba V'Ima Iloyan. And those two, and this is based on the Drush Hadas of Rav Chaim Vital that the Rashash builds so much of upon. But these are the levels. The Arich and the Abba V'Ima Iloyan are not yet available to descend down because the Zayin Tachtonos are not revealed. But as a result of the fact that Ab is mislabish itself within Sag, so then it refers to itself as the concealed of the concealed and not the ancient of the ancient. Ki hasag hu Abba V'Ima v'hem tmirim, because Abba V'Ima are Sag, they're a lower level and they're still concealed. But v'hu tamir mehem, but the Shem Ab is going to be more concealed within itself, even though the externalized level is concealed as well. Nimsa shu medaber b'kav b'bchinas av v'sag. That what the Ramchal is being masbi here is that what the Zohar Kadosh is referring to as not being revealed yet are the elements of Ab and Sag, which are the instantiation points of the hislabshus of the kav within Adam Kadmon. Shehu koidem hametzias hamalchim kadmon. Because as long as the Shem Ma and Ben are not yet revealed, then there's no place in which the Mochin can be revealed. So it turns out, as we're going to see throughout the entire Sefer, that the lower is the thing that the higher level is dependent upon. Aval ikar akol hu beside Av. The ikar, the shirish of all things, is Ab, is the chesed kadma, is the light of chachma, and the fact that there's bina is a hislabshus of that chachma and a schlepping down of the chachma down, but the ikar always has to remain the chachma. Shu shirish ha'oisa es hakol. The shirish of all things is the or haganus, is the or kadma, is the light of chachma, the chesed kale that comes with each and every day, the chaykatov lehetiv. The fact that it congeals itself within a vessel of sag within bina is only there to reveal the interiority of chachma with more intensity. There just happens to be the element of Ab in and of itself, and then the hislabshus of Ab and Chachma within the externalization of itself, which is the secret of Sag. But don't make a mistake about it. The goal of everything is always Chachma. It's just that the fundamental expression of Chachma can only take shape by way of the descent into Bina. And this is again referring to what the Ramchal referred to above, is that the Bereisha Manusa Demalka, Galif Gilufa Betiru Yilo, these Gilufin, these engravings become the pipelines, so to say, through which the light of the Kav is going to be Miskala itself within the world of Adam Kadmon, according to the very, very hyper-specific Seder and operations that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has been Masader B'Chachmaso HaNifla'a. that the Arizal came to be master to us based on the Zohar Kadosh. That there was an engraving, there began to be the initial markings making for the externalization of Adam Kadmon, which is going to be the unfolding of the eventual lights of Ma'an Ben. Because like we said already, it's in accordance with these engravings that the ultimate light is going to be revealed within these particularized forms of the engravings. Kasher parashti lamala. V'nimsa hagilufim b'chitzonius, the externalization and the awakening and the pipelines and the engravings and the murmurings of the awakening from the inside towards the outside are the markings that are going to engrave themselves on the outside of Adam Kadmon, which is now going to be the vessel that holds the interiority, the light of the Kav, that is eventually going to descend back into it, and the measure of the internal lights that are going to be revealed is in accordance with the lights of the outside. And that's going to prepare us for Perek Vav, which is Olam Hanikudim, Shviras HaKelim, which is going to be the inundation of those Gilufim with a light that they can't handle, which is going to be the very beginning of the process of the unfolding of the Partsufim of Tikkun, which are going to be the Shemos of Ma'an Ben, which is the territory of Zman and Bechira Be'ezras Hashem.